Hey, you guys. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Well, you guys, buckle up. This will probably be a longer live. My lives are usually long, anyways, but this one's going to be a little long because we're going to be going over Lindsay Chrisley's part one of her speaking out against her parents and kind of explaining why she has been estranged from her parents. Well, she actually goes back to like the beginning, to like the first estrangement they had before the show started filming. So we are going to jump right into it because it is going to take some time. Also, I'm going to stop and give commentary because I have things to say. If you want to watch the podcast itself, it's up on this channel here. I have it linked on the top of my, so it's called Not a Slave to My Chains, Part One, Cater Podcast TV, and it is linked in the top of my description. Please do not leave me comments saying, "Can you just play the live? Can you just play the podcast? Just play the podcast. I don't want to hear what you got to say." Please, if you only want to hear the podcast, go there. You can hear it without my interruptions. But um, as far as me, I am going to give commentary because I have a lot to say. Also, I can point out Lindsay's lies in this live that she did, or this interview, whatever you want to call it. As we all know, Lindsay is estranged from her parents, Todd and Julie Chrisley. Todd is her biological father. Julie is her step slash adoptive mom. Julie adopted Lindsay and Kyle when they were young because their mom, Teresa, struggled with like mental health issues and was not a very present mom. So Julie adopted them. And from everything from my understanding, Julie treated Lindsay and Todd just like her kids. They were I mean, look how she treats Chloe. Look how Julie Chrisley treats Chloe, her step granddaughter. Todd is not, I mean, Kyle Chrisley is not Julie's biological son. He is her adopted son. However, she raises Todd's daughter, Chloe, and can't nobody tell them that they're not family. You know what I'm saying? So I have no doubt that Julie Chrisley treated Lindsay and Kyle like they were 100% blood. However, they are estranged from Lindsay Chrisley, and Lindsay and Kyle did speak to the FBI when the FBI were investigating Todd and Julie Chrisley for the bank fraud and tax evasion charges and all of that. Lindsay and Kyle, some would say, worked with the FBI, right? So Lindsay is going to take us all the way back to the first estrangement before they were ever even filming. Okay. So we're going to jump right into it. We're going to start at like the 4-minute mark. 4:58 is where we're going to start. Now, before we get into that, let me kind of just go over some of the things that she already said. Let me get my notes out. I have notes everywhere. Okay, so Lindsay says the reason she is speaking out about this is because the family just did their reality TV show, The Chrisleys Back to Reality. She claims she didn't watch the show. She says she saw a lot of clips on social media. She says that she had people watching the show for her who could take notes to kind of give her any information that they deemed that she should know that was said about her. She also says that she knows her sister Savannah referred to her as Cruella. So she made a post on social media referring to herself as Cruella. She says she was taking it on the chin. You know, I know my sister referred to me as Cruella. I made a post on social media about it. I'm taking it on the chin. I'm fine. Now, she did say that in June or July, she reached out to her grandmother, Nanny Faye, and asked Nanny Faye to have her dad, Todd, call her. She wanted to talk to him. Mind you, Lindsay and Todd and Julie and Savannah all reconnected right before, right, Bree? What if they wrote it down wrong? So Lindsay and Todd were estranged for a while. After they were indicted, they were estranged. However, during the trial, before the trial, Lindsay and Todd and Julie and Savannah they reconnected. They made amends. And Lindsay was on Savannah's podcast with Todd and Julie. And Todd and Julie and Savannah was on Lindsay's podcast. This was right before like the sentencing, right? However, at the sentencing hearing, an email was read in court that was from Lindsay Chrisley to the prosecution or to the FBI. Now I can't remember. Lindsay has always maintained, while yes, I spoke to Josh Waits, who was, the lead investigator over the case against my parents. While yes, I spoke to him, I didn't give him any information. I didn't get him any information. He just wanted to talk to me, but I didn't give him any information. I didn't tell him nothing that would incriminate my parents. I didn't give him any information. Well, at the sentencing hearing, when they read this letter, it validated that she did. I mean, this email was like, "Oh, I'm my father's victim. He's a horrible person. He needs to be stopped." She just was going on and on about, Todd harassing her and how horrible he was. And this is just one email. Todd and Julie's attorney, what's his name? I forgot. He pulled records of emails, phone calls that were made between Lindsay and Josh Waits. So it wasn't like Josh set up a meeting with Lindsay, try to get information from her, and she was like, "No, I don't have any information. This is our only meeting because I have nothing to tell you," and then went on about her business. They spoke several times. Thank you, Tiffany. They spoke several times, right? And at the sentencing hearing, this validated the prosecution reading this email, validated for Todd and the rest of the family that Lindsay really did work with the feds against her parents. Mind you, the feds was trying to get Todd and Julie life sentences. They were going after life sentences for them. So yeah, before the sentencing hearing, Todd, Julie, Savannah, Chloe, Lindsay, they all reconnected, made amends. Lindsay was at the sentencing hearing. She was in court that day to support her parents with her siblings. They talk about it on the show. They talk about how Lindsay was there. And then they read that email, and everybody was like, that day, everybody became estranged with Lindsay again. There was no more denying it or hiding the fact that she was definitely like talking to the feds about how horrible her dad was, how he was harassing her, he was breaking the law, he was doing this, he was evil, he needed to be stopped. So yeah, she didn't speak to her parents. They go to jail, and then they get out. They get out in, was it January or February? I think it was January 18th. They get out, or no, either way, they get out at the beginning of 2025. Well, she said in June or July, she reached out to Nanny and said, "Hey, have Dad call me. I would like to talk to him." She said the reason she didn't reach out to him is because, well, they had been estranged and she didn't know how he would respond if she just reached out to him. Also, she had changed her phone number, so she didn't know if he would even answer, whatever. She said she gave Nanny Faye a timeline to give her dad on when he could reach out to her. So it's like, "Hey, I need you to call me. You can call me between these days." A timeline. Okay. He never did. The show started airing. She claims a lot of what was on the show was inaccurate. But I'm like, if you weren't watching it and you had somebody else watching it, taking notes, it's kind of like the telephone game. Maybe by the time it got back to you, maybe a few things were changed. I don't know. Did they get out May 28th? Maybe so. Maybe so, Cheryl. Yeah, so maybe it wasn't that far after they got out, a month or two after they got out, that she reached out. I should have looked that date up. So she says he never called. She hasn't talked to Todd, Julie, Savannah, and she hasn't talked to Nanny Faye since she talked to her in like June or July. So yeah, while Lindsay says she didn't watch the show, she had people watch and document anything that she would need to know. And she ended up seeing a lot of clips, but a lot of what was on the show was incorrect. And now she wants to address her side of the story. So let's go ahead, let's get into it. I'm so sorry, you guys. I have to keep it kind of small for copyright purposes. So we're going to keep it probably this size. You guys let me know if y'all can hear it. So first we're going to get into the initial estrangement. She talks about their first estrangement. This is wild.
And you have had their ups and downs, right? Like there's
Thank
been
you,
some
Brittany.
estrangements over the years, but most of this all started in 2009, between 2009 and 2012. What happened during those years that led you to start the estrangement?
So just for everyone who's listening, I do not want it to come off in any way
Thank you, babe.
cold or for the delivery to be taken wrong, because
2009, she was 19, about to turn 20. She was born September 17th, 1989. So 2009, she would have been 19, 20, 20.
I have all of the documents that I have, but to be able to actually follow a timeline and to give correct and factual information, I am going to use what has been put together over the years, starting with what you're asking. The first cease and desist that I had received from my dad, I believe, was in 2012. I'm going to back up to the 2009 date.
So 3 years after their estrangement, she receives her first cease and desist. She was born in 89, September 17th, 1989. If I said 99, I do apologize. It's 89.
Because that's when our initial estrangement started. I was in college. I've said before, I worked for my dad's company. I was a full-time student,
Her dad gave
was
her a
dating
job.
Will at the time. My parents had graciously bought me a condo that I was living in.
A very expensive condo, might I add. So her dad graciously gave her a job that worked around her college schedule, got her 2 cars and a condo.
When somebody else buys you something, you have to live by their rules. And I was unwilling to live by their rules. I wanted to be a normal college student like all of my friends and be able to live my life and do the things that I wanted to do as a college student. And
Has Kyrie texted you back?
So her dad had rules. We all know Todd Chrisley. If you watch the show, you all know he don't want his kids lying down with dogs. He is very strict on
Definitely
his kids, who they hang out with. He's strict on drugs, alcohol. So he had rules for Lindsay. You're in college. You're not going to be out all night partying. You need to be home at a decent time. When you get home, call me so I know that you're home. You're not going to have parties at this condo, this very nice condo. Yes, Hank, we are so pleased to see you here. I've been busy too. I get it. Hopefully life will slow down for everybody now. So yeah, he did not want parties in this very expensive condo that he was paying for. He, like he said on the show, he's not running a whorehouse, so he did not believe in his daughters allowing, having their boyfriend stay the night, and he wasn't going to allow it in a house that he paid for her. It really seems like you don't like Lindsay. I'm just indifferent to her. I don't know her, but just from watching her and covering her, I don't think she's an honest person. So, like, when it comes down to if I like her or not, it doesn't. It like I mean, I think she's dishonest. Any person that would work with the feds. I mean, she admits here their first estrangement was over just because she didn't want to live. She didn't want to listen to the rules. Rather than saying, "Dad, you know what? I understand your morals and your values, but I am 19, 20. I want to live with my boyfriend and I want to be able to, drink and go to parties and hang out with, the people that maybe you don't want me to hang out with. So I'm going to move out of the condo because I understand and I respect the fact that you have bought this condo for me. And I respect the fact that, the fact that you bought it for me, I have to, I have to respect your rules. And because I don't want to live by your rules, I'm going to move out. Here's the keys. Thank you so much." And continue a relationship with her dad. I know you're going to be, upset with me, but continue to have a relationship with her dad. No, she decides she don't want to abide by the rules, and then she becomes estranged from him. She changes her number, moves in with her boyfriend, never to speak to him again. Like, what? That is wild. That, like, how can it? First off, your dad has raised you, given you a really good life. Your Julie adopted her, treated her as her own child. They gave her nice rides, 2 of them, put her in a very fancy, nice condo, gave her a job to work around her going to class. And all that they asked was, "Hey, just follow these rules. We don't want you out partying. You need to be home at a decent hour. Call us when you get home. You're not going to have parties at the house that we pay for. You're not going to have boys stay in the night." And she, oh, yeah, I see that. They have. Rather than saying, "Can't do that, Dad, but I love you. Call me when you're not mad at me anymore. Text me when you're not so disappointed." No, she literally changed her number and became estranged from them. Moved out, moved in with her boyfriend, changed her number, became estranged, but continued to talk crap about them. So much so that her dad did have to send her a cease and desist a couple years later because she was running her mouth about them to people they knew.
My dad didn't like that idea.
And when you say live like a normal college student, did you mean having friends over, or what did that look like? Like you just wanted to be able to
Yeah,
live a
I
college life.
wanted to live a college life. Like I wanted to be able to go out with my friends and go to the Halloween parties and go to the sorority and fraternity mixers and do all of that. But it was almost like I still lived at home because my dad had a landline that was put into my condo unit to where I would have to call from the landline when I was home so that he knew that I was home.
I feel like this is going to be super long, longer than what I want it to be because Kim says, but they pay for it with dirty money. Now, if you do your research into this crime, the loans that was obtained in their name by Mark Braddock, who admitted to this, and Todd and Julie Chrisley's attorney, who pulled bank statements and stuff, the loans that was obtained by Mark Braddock never went into their bank accounts. Never went into their bank account. So where did it go? Did Mark Braddock take the money? The man who went through all the trouble of falsifying documents to get loans in Todd and Julie's name? Not even Julie's name, just Todd's. Mark Braddock has admitted he's the one that got the loans. He got the loans. He admitted that to the FBI. He got full immunity. He said, yeah, I got the loans. I falsified the documents. I lied about their income so I could get these, huge loans. Never went into their bank accounts. There's no proof that they got the loan and then turn around and deposit it into their bank accounts. Mind you, they're doing okay financially, but Mark Braddock, who, while he's doing okay, he's definitely not living on the same, luxury lifestyle that they're on. So maybe he kept it. Could that be that maybe he kept the money?
Why?
To make sure that I was meeting curfew because that was a part of the agreement for me to live in that place. And
my son is in college right now, he is 18. He goes to college, and I'm like, you need to be home at a decent time. You're not going to be wilding out. College is scary. As a parent,
I do understand that my parents paid for that place. And, in order for me to live there, I needed to respect the rules that they had in place. It's my own fault. I didn't respect the rules, and I made a decision for myself one night with Will after he got done with baseball practice. He brought his truck over. I gathered all of my personal belongings, and by personal belongings, I mean like things that I had purchased for myself or clothes, toiletries, that kind of thing. I didn't take any furniture. I didn't take any TVs. I left the house clean and in the condition that I received it in. I had 2 vehicles at that time, left the keys on the counter. And
at 19, a sophomore in college, you have 2 vehicles and a condo, not even like a little trailer. Not like live on campus and literally eating ramen noodles like the rest of the people on campus. No, this girl was living big, and because her boyfriend couldn't live with her and stay the night with her and she couldn't go party, this is what she did. Listen to this.
Left the keys to the unit that I was living in on the counter, and I never looked back. I changed my phone number the next day so he couldn't get in contact with me, and I moved on with my life. I was a normal college student.
How do you just abandon the family that you have? The father that's raised you for 19 years, the mother that's raised you since you were like 3. How do you just abandon that all because you don't want to follow their rules? That, to me, that screams something's broken in her. That's not like a normal child that loves their parents couldn't do that. That they would be like, you know what? I'm gonna block my dad for a week. I'm gonna block my dad for a month because I know he's gonna be mad for a while. But then I gotta unblock him because I love him and I'm just gonna give him time to cool off. Like I could understand that. Like, blocking for it because I know he's gonna be upset. Not to mention her siblings. She has a little brother, Grayson. You know what college? She says she was on scholarships, but who knows? Guarantee you, if scholarships didn't pay for all her college, her dad did. So that is so absurd to take it that far. So the first estrangement happened because, well, her dad had her in this really nice condo and with 2 vehicles and a job, and she didn't want to follow his rules. So she left and become estranged from him. I am definitely biased. I say that all the time. I am biased. Like when I'm talking about Janelle Evans, I'm biased. When I'm talking about Amber Forward, I'm biased. And which anybody is. And the thing about it is when people call me out for being biased, they are too. It's just we're not the same bias in that moment. Like when it's okay for me to be biased when I agree with you. You know what I'm saying? We have the same opinion. Nobody's going to be like, "Oh, Elle, you're biased," when I'm sitting here saying everything you agree with. It's just when I'm saying something you don't agree with. This is like, "Well, you're so biased." It's like, yeah. And here's the thing: she wasn't having the same lifestyle. She can rebel, but to block her parents and become estranged from them, rebellion is fine. That is normal, but that's for 3 years, she didn't talk to her parents. For 3 years. She literally dipped out. All because she didn't wanna follow the rules. My thing is, like, why not text your dad, say, "Dad, I would like to meet with you." Bring Nanny Faye, because you know Todd ain't going too crazy with Nanny Faye there, and say, "Hey, Dad, I'm moving out. I'm moving out. I'm gonna move in with my boyfriend. Um, and I know you're not gonna like it. I understand that. I know that's not in line with your morals, your values. And I'm a kid, well, not a kid. I'm 19 and I kind of want to do what I want to do. I got to live and learn and make my own mistakes because they do. They got to live and learn and make their own mistakes. What do you think Ty would have said? He ain't gonna unalive her. Ain't like he was gonna unalive her. It ain't like he would have never talked to her again. He probably would have blew up, told her she was stupid, crazy. And then in a week or two, they would have been fine. I mean, he ended up forgiving her later on. They made amends later on. And Will did not like Todd. So yeah, to me, it's like, yes, I am very biased, especially when I feel like people are wrong. I'm going to point that out.
Student, not proud to say that before marriage, I lived with Will, but that was the options that I had. I now no longer had a job and nowhere to live. And so Will's parents graciously allowed.
I feel you on that. People think because I do this for a living, they can just call me and talk to me for 24/7. And I'm like, if I don't work, I don't get paid. Can people stop calling me during working hours, please?
Me to move in with Will and his brother into a townhouse that they owned. And we lived there until I was able to financially be able to afford for Will and I to get our own place.
You're right. A lot of people block their parents out of their lives, but usually their parents have to do something wrong. Usually their parents have to do something wrong, not raise them and give them everything that, the parents never had. Her mom had mental illness and couldn't be there for her. And her mom was very not a part of her life. So guess what? Julie adopted her. Julie treated her and Kyle just like her kids. They sent them to a great school. They gave them the nice things in life. Yeah, Ty can be a little harsh, but can't we all? Like, can't all parents? We're not perfect. Parents, two cars, and a condo, a job to work around your college schedule. She's admitting here he did nothing wrong. She's literally admitting he did nothing wrong other than have some rules. So she no-showed her job too, apparently. Apparently she no-showed her job. Apparently she just, dipped out on her whole family. Like all because she didn't want to follow his rules. Why? Like my thing is like, okay, if my kids block me out of their lives, I'm gonna need a reason. And it ain't gonna be, well, you have rules in the house that you bought for me that you paid for, trying to keep me on track as I'm going through college. Yeah, you have some rules. Okay. That's ridiculous.
And I went to school and that was it.
That's why and when your estrangement started.
Yes, the initial estrangement. So that was around 2009 when that happened. I don't know exact
Right, Cam?
dates,
That's usually what
but I know it was
happens.
the year 2009. And then my granddaddy passed away in July of 2012. There were lots of things that were going.
I think kids that just block their parents because they want to rebel need therapy, and there's something missing there. The fact that, and this is why Lindsay and Kale get along so great because Kale wasn't raised with parents, and this is to no fault of her own. I commend Kale for working the way that she's worked and building the empire that she's built, but Kale didn't have parents, so she don't understand that connection that like a kid has with their parents. The people that brought you into this world, that do everything to keep you alive, that give you the best that they can give you. Yes, they have rules, but if a 19-year-old says, I become estranged from my parents and block them because they had rules, what the hell does she want? Yeah, let me buy you this $100,000 condo and 2 cars and just have parties in it. whatever. If people come over and get drunk and bust the windows out, who cares? If you flunk out of college because you're partying every night and you can't make it to class, who cares? No, no, it's not who cares. It's he was the dad. He was paying for everything. He had her a job. He wanted to ensure that she was going to make it through college. Right. Yeah. In my rebellion, I moved out and didn't go around as much, but I never disowned them. Exactly. Right. In my rebellion, I moved out too. I got pregnant, had my baby. My mom and my baby daddy got into it, and I moved in with my baby daddy. Did I become estranged? Heck no. I didn't talk to my mom for like 2 days. Then I called my mom and was like, I'm sorry. If a parent can, um, that got to be Lindsay in the chat. I don't even know. Like, that's crazy for anybody to think that it's okay for Lindsay to just drop her family like a hot potato for no reason. I mean, for a 19, 20-year-old to drop her dad, mom, siblings for no reason at all, no fault of their own. They were doing everything right, doing everything they could for her. What else could they have done? Yes, party it up in the condo. Yes, stay out all night if you want to. That's insanity. That's not perfect, but if you think it isn't, fine. Yeah, I'm perfect. They're perfect. Everybody I know is perfect. To me, that's extreme. I mean, clearly it happens. It happened with her. But to me, that is so extreme. I've never even heard of it. I've never even heard of, yes, I've heard of people moving out because they didn't want to abide by their family's rules, but I've never heard of them becoming estranged for 3 years because of it. Blocked, like changing their number. That's crazy.
At that time, my dad had filed bankruptcy. I was pregnant with Jackson, newly married. There is another situation that involves another minor child that I am not going to get into because it's not really my story to tell and don't want to rob that from someone. Kyle's girlfriend at that time was also pregnant with Chloe. And so there were a lot of things that were going on. I didn't have a relationship with my dad until, and I wouldn't even say it was necessarily a relationship, but I do think that death sometimes bring people together. That's just the reality of the situation. We were both losing somebody that we very much loved jointly. And while those relationships were very separate, we both loved that person. And he was placed in the ICU in a hospital in Atlanta. And that was the first time that I'd seen my dad since the college estrangement.
So it had been years.
Years. I saw him in the ER.
Okay, so really quickly, the start of the estrangement, she moves out of the condo that he's paying for because she don't want to abide by the rules. Okay, that was 2009. Okay, so Lindsay, she was 19, turned 20 in September. She was a sophomore in college. So she says July 2012, her grandpa passes away. She talks about Todd filing bankruptcy. He did file Chapter 7 bankruptcy in August 2012. And I've seen some people talk about him filing bankruptcy, like, oh, he screwed the government, whatever. He lost. So Chapter 7 is when you lose like your property. Chapter 13 is where, you can go buy a car and a house and file bankruptcy and you get to keep the things and you just pay a lot cheaper. But he lost a lot of the property in filing the Chapter 7. Lindsay and Will married January 2012. So by the time her grandpa passed away, because I want to point this out, she's lying here. Her timeline is wrong. And maybe it's not intentional, but her timeline is wrong. July 2012, her grandpa passes. She was married to Will by this time. She was born in 89. Lindsay was born in 89. So in 2009, she would have been 19, turning 20. They married January 2012, 3 years after the estrangement, 6 months before her grandpa died. At the time that her grandpa died, she was pregnant. She was 4 months pregnant, I think, from what I was able to dig through the information and find, birthdays and when this happened and when that happened. So let's continue.
Been there with my nanny and my papa for in and out of the hospital. My papa.
Okay, let me skip that. We're going to skip to 1308.
scheduled to film in July.
Okay, so she says the pilot was initially scheduled to film in July 2012, but her grandfather passed. No, her family was not at her wedding. That's another thing. You know, they raised them like super close, but they went off and eloped, which was a problem that um, Todd had. Todd had an issue that they went and eloped. He had an issue that Will did not ask his daughter's hand in marriage, like come to him and say, "Can I have your daughter's hand in marriage?" Todd had an issue that a prenup wasn't made beforehand. So the pilot was initially filmed. This is her story. The pilot was initially scheduled to film July 2012. Now, this is keep all the dates are going to get crazy, okay? July 2012, she says they were supposed to start filming. She got married January 2012. Now, if she's wrong, because filming did not start until May 2013. Okay. So let's continue to listen. She says they did not initially start filming when they were supposed to in July 2012 because her grandfather passed. So they started filming in August 2012.
However, when my papa passed away, they moved that and did not start filming the pilot until August.
Okay, because of the passing and
Yes.
Okay. So the end of August and the first week of September 2012, that is when you guys start the pilot for Chrisley Knows Best.
Yes.
What
Prior to that, though, I had received a cease and desist from my dad dated February 20th of 2012 because
February 20th, 2012, she receives a cease and desist from her dad, who basically tells her, stop running your mouth about us. Stop telling people I'm in bankruptcy. She says, oh, he lied because he claims he wasn't in bankruptcy. She says it was dated February 2012. So this is one lie. She says this. It was dated. The cease and desist was dated February 2012. He lied. He told me to stop telling people he was in bankruptcy and to stop telling so-and-so that to stop talking to me, that I would record our phone conversations. She was like, he lied because he wasn't in bankruptcy. He was not in bankruptcy in that moment. He did not file bankruptcy until August 2012. So at the time that she was going around telling people, maybe, she was still talking to Nanny at the time. So maybe Todd was talking to his mom about the struggles and the possibility of maybe thinking about filing bankruptcy. And maybe Nanny talked to Lindsay about it and Lindsay ran her mouth about it. So when he sent the cease and desist saying, stop it. Ooh, B, mama knows everything. So when she was going around saying that, he had not filed bankruptcy. So she was technically lying. That's okay, Abek. I'm not on Lindsay's side, but
of the contents of this email would have information about a story that's not mine to tell. I don't want this specifically shared, but I was having communications with a third party that was not approved of. It alleges in the cease and desist that I told someone that he was bankrupt, in caps lock, LOL. I don't understand at the time when you receive something like this, you're like, okay, well, maybe I did say it because I probably did. And I'm not saying I didn't say it, but I'm receiving a cease and desist about this. This was roughly around the same time that a bankruptcy would have been filed. So what am I seeing?
Bankruptcy was filed in August 2012. This was sent February. So like 6 months later.
Ceasing and desisting from, I guess.
I think if you file bankruptcy, it's public records, like it's in public records. So if you did say it, he's basically ceasing, and he wants you to cease and desist speaking about his bankruptcy. Is that correct? Would you say that's correct?
Correct. But he said that he wasn't bankrupt in here. I'm being served as
He wasn't at the
final
time.
notice. Talking garbage and lies shows how low of a human being you truly are. You told her that she needs to be careful talking to me because I will record her and that I am going bankrupt. You're the only one bankrupt, both financially as well as morally.
He put that in the text.
In this email,
pretty wild.
dated February 20th of 2012.
But you were willing to look past that.
It's so funny that Kel's like, you were willing to look past it, all that they did to you. But it's like, what about all they did for her when she just drops them like a hot potato for no reason for 3 years? It's insanity. Okay, let's see. We're going to jump to the next timestamps. Where are they? Where did my other timestamps go? Oh no. Where did my hold on, guys. There they are. 13, 13, 2, 15, 18, 11.
So just to say, I was pregnant during a lot of this time. So there was a lot, I feel like
Now, if Lindsay had her timeline correct, which is crazy, she would have been pregnant. Lindsay was 4 months pregnant. No, 3 months pregnant when her grandfather passed in July 2012. She was 5 months pregnant when they allegedly started filming August 2012. However, that's not when they started filming. Everywhere I looked says the pilot for the show was not filmed until 2013, May 2013. Let me double check that. So this is when her grandfather passed away. The pilot for the original Chrisley Knows Best was filmed May 2013, leading to its premiere on March 11, 2014. The Chrisleys began filming a pilot for a new reality show May 2023. Okay, so Lindsay has her timeline wrong, and she's going to continue to say things that validate that. Okay, somebody's like, well, maybe they filmed another pilot that didn't get aired. No, that's not. No, she literally says what she's talking about. The pilot that she's talking about, where she was pregnant and it was right after her grandpa passed away. She says that is the one that aired for season 1. All the stuff that she's talking about, I was pregnant, married. She says that is what aired for season 1. So, but there was no way she was pregnant in May 2013 because she had Jackson December 2012. Okay. Wait, what is with the numbers on y'all's name? She has Joe, Javi, Chris, and Elijah, 4 baby daddies. Let me see. I feel like there's something else. Okay, yeah. And here's August, bankruptcy code on August 31st, 2012. So when he sent that letter in February, you would think she would get her dates correct because they're so easy to find. So when she got that letter, the cease and desist, February 2012, he wasn't lying. He was not in bankruptcy yet. Like I said, I think he had maybe voiced it to Nanny that he was going to be filing bankruptcy, and Nanny obviously talked about it, so she knew, and she went around telling people when it was really none of her business to tell. Like, if you're estranged from me and you're not going to talk to me, don't go around telling people that I'm struggling financially.
Emotionally going on. I had just gotten married at the beginning of 2012. I got pregnant way quicker than what I thought I was going to. Got married in January, pregnant. Found out I was pregnant the day after Mother's Day.
Oh, wow.
And my pop had passed away. And this pilot is going on, right? And in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm just graduated from school. I graduated in a summer semester, a couple of days actually before my papa passed away. So I'm roughly around 6 months pregnant at the time of his passing. And
right, she wasn't lying about them being in financial ruins, but what she said here was but he lied saying he wasn't in bankruptcy. What she said is, but he lied. He said he wasn't in bankruptcy, but he didn't lie because he wasn't in bankruptcy yet. Now, maybe was he financially not good? Sure.
And now all of a sudden we're doing this pilot, and it was kind of positioned to me that we don't know if this will, like, anything will happen with this, right? Like, X amount of shows are pitched per year, and only a fraction of those get picked up. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking to myself, I don't really want to do this, but I guess I'll do it because who's going to pick us up? And
how was it positioned to you? Did Todd tell you needed to be a part of it? Did he ask you, or did he tell you?
prior to the pilot ever filming, the producers from the production company had a couple of Zooms with me. And I think they were kind of building out the story of the pilot.
Okay, so she says prior to them filming the pilot, she met with the producers on Zoom to kind of get a feel for who she was and, her role in the show. Tell me why she didn't tell them she was married or pregnant. What? You guys, if you are doing a Zoom with your new boss who's going to be filming you, what are the first couple of things you're going to say? Well, I got married earlier this year or last year, whatever the correct timeline is, and I'm pregnant or I just had a baby. What? How are you not going to? Estrangement is Lindsay admitted that the estrangement was like just because she didn't want to follow the rules in the house that her parents bought for her. An estrangement is not always the parents' fault. Things like that are not identical. Like estrangements are not always the parents' fault. Sometimes they can be, sometimes they can't be. And I feel like having the frame of mind that something is always one way, it doesn't even make sense. It doesn't even make sense to think like, oh, you know what? This is always this way. No, no. An estrangement is not always the parent's fault. She was given everything she could in this world. 2 cars at 19, a condo worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. All that they asked was, hey, be respectful of, the cars, the house, don't have parties. Our values is that I don't run a whorehouse, so don't have your boyfriend over there staying the night. Ain't gonna happen. Don't have parties over there. And on school nights, you need to be home at a decent time. So call me when you get home because you have, we want you to get through college. Gave her a job to work around her college schedule. And she said, nope, I don't want to live by your rules. I'm out, and blocks that, gets her a new number and don't talk to them again for 3 years. What could they have done differently? I don't understand that. That's crazy.
And how they were going to do the different episodes. And so I don't know because I only can reference what I was involved in, but I would imagine that they probably had those Zooms with all of the family members trying to, gain information so that they knew best how to present the family. And so the storyline, I guess, that they decided to go with for me was that I was demanding, this wedding. And basically I was.
How did they get it from you that you were demanding a wedding? If you spoke to production several times where they can get an idea of who you are, your role in the show, like more about what your character will be, where did they get that idea from?
A brat and a bitch and all of these things. Other kids were still at home. So that was more of like the parenting side of stuff. What they didn't know at the time that we were filming the pilot and what no one was forthcoming and I was told not to be forthcoming about was the fact that I was pregnant and also already married.
First off, why didn't you tell them that when you talked to them? To me, it seems like this was a scheme, if this is true, but it's not really accurate. That was a scheme that you and your dad talked about beforehand, because she's going to later say, like, oh, me and my dad talked about it, right? However, this is not true. The very first episode that was filmed for the pilot, she had her baby already. Filming did not start until May 2013. The filming, you can look it up, you can find it, it's out there. Filming for the very first episode, the pilot, started May 2013. Her son was 4 months old. He was married, and in the pilot, they show him. Actually, here's the pilot. Hold on, let's watch it. Let me show you guys the pilot. A clip from the pilot. I can't show y'all let me see. That's not the right one. Here's a clip from the pilot. And Lindsay admits herself that what aired as episode 1 was what they filmed for the pilot. But all these things that she claimed was in there, her pretending to not be pregnant, her pretending to not be married. Dude, why is it not showing? You guys let me know if y'all can hear this.
We live in a neighborhood in North Atlanta, a gated neighborhood with celebrities here. We grew up in a very small rural town, and now our main home is 30,000 square feet.
I'm very controlling.
I try to keep everything in order and in line. I have a certain level of expectation for my children, for my wife, for myself.
And you have to let him think he's the boss. And that's okay.
Okay.
We have 5 children.
Our oldest daughter is Lindsay. Lindsay is beautiful. She's smart. She's bitchy.
Bitch, get out of my face. No, get out of my face.
Your dress is almost to your vagina.
Oh my God, I'm so annoying. Just go.
No.
She married Will without my permission and without a freedom. But I love my grandson Jackson. If I can love you, eventually I will love your daddy.
How old does he look there? About 4 months, probably. Let's see, December. Oh, 5 months. He was 5 months old.
What? I've certainly been our child that doesn't march to anyone else's beat other than his own.
I feel like I need to get away for a little bit and get myself.
And I do agree. I'm not into calling your kids names. Now, she was 19, 20 years old, and he said she was bitchy, not a bitch. However, it's not my style to say things like that about my kids. I would say something like, oh, she can be kind of harsh at times. I would definitely say it in a much like, she can be harsh, but I definitely wouldn't say bitch or bitchy. Definitely not my style. I've said that several times. Not my style. And yeah, I agree. It is up to the parents to provide their kids with everything that they need. Not everything they need and want, which is what Todd did. You know, a lot of what they wanted, they got. They lived in a very nice house. They got a lot of, 2 cars and couple $100,000 condo. And I agree, her freedom, she cared about that freedom regardless of the age. What do you mean? I don't think at any age parents should call their kids names, especially something like a BITCH. However, it's not our duty when our child is 30 to continue to take care of them. We have to raise our kids so they can take care of themselves. Now, yeah, sure, if they, if something happens and God forbid they get laid off and they need us, we do it. We're going to get there, Dana. We do it. But I'm not raising a kid that's going to be like, oh, I'm not going to get a job because mama got me. You know what? I'm going to let my girlfriend move in and we're going to get pregnant and, oh, well, I ain't going to get a job. Mama got me. No. Mama don't have you. You got to be responsible. You got to take care of yourself. If you fall on hard times, absolutely, I'll be there to help you. But I'm not going to raise a kid that thinks, well, mama got me all the time. And I agree to that. 18, yes. Yeah, we're gonna get to it. We definitely talked about it in the TikTok live.
I have spent over $1 million
He was 5 months old. My apologies.
trying to help you find yourself. I can't keep funding all of these things that you want to do when you will not see any of them through. When I caught Kyle cheating with a married woman, I had his ass picked up by 2 private security guards. He was taken to the private airstrip here in Atlanta, and he was sent to Samoa for 9 months to Red Cross relief work. You servicing the community is not the kind of community service you need to be involved.
Hello.
Look at my beautiful grandson. Lindsay is my oldest daughter. She and Jackson come over for dinner twice a week.
This is the pilot. So where in the first episode was Savannah pregnant but couldn't admit that? Where was she married but they acted like she wasn't? This is the pilot. She admitted herself in the video we were just watching that the first episode that aired for season 1 was a pilot that we filmed where she allegedly hid her pregnancy and hid her marriage. Where did that happen?
My son-in-law never comes. Hell, I don't even know if he knows which house we live.
Can I go to?
Okay, that's really all we have to see there. But it just goes to show that what Lindsay is saying about the timelines and all that is not correct. Why would Todd want you to hide the fact that you're pregnant or married?
Production didn't know that.
Production did not know that.
Your family knew that.
Everybody knew that except production.
And if production didn't know that, girl, when you were on them Zoom calls telling production about you and your life, that was up to you to tell them.
Okay. So I think that's important for people to know, just to give full context for listeners of this episode. I think that it's really important for you guys to understand.
I do agree. I do agree. And in Lindsay's case, it's like Todd and Julie.
The development and what goes into filming a pilot and it being greenlit into an actual show is slim to none, but it is a huge, huge event.
We don't have to look at all that. Hold on. Let's see. We're going to skip to 2209.
Part of your everyday routine. Production doesn't know you're already pregnant, you're already married, but they, and maybe your dad.
Oh, and here's a picture of the promo picture for season 1. Where she was allegedly pregnant. She was allegedly pregnant. I mean, I do understand some people, especially if they're like skinny, sometimes they don't show. Sometimes people that are bigger don't show that well. But season 1 filmed after he was born. And it only takes a little bit of research to find that out. It only takes a little bit of research to find the first episode, to see that he's in the first episode, that Jax is in the first episode.
Did your dad have any parts in what your storyline would be?
Yes, because he and I had a conversation of I was not to wear my wedding ring while filming, which was hugely problematic to Will. He did not understand why that wouldn't be a known situation. I think my dad was already in his mind, if this does get picked up, that we would do possibly a larger wedding for the next season of the show. If we didn't even know that the pilot was going to air as season 1.
Okay.
Like that was all unknown. So in our minds, it was like, okay, well, the first season of the show then will come out with you're pregnant and you're married or a wedding.
Okay. So you guys sort of have the conversation.
So, however, the first episode that we saw was them introducing themselves, and Lindsay's married and got a kid. And nowhere did it say, welcome back, you guys. Last y'all saw us, Lindsay was single. You know what I'm saying? That's the only part of the pilot that I could find. Sorry. And I screen recorded it, had to edit it down, and then transfer it to my computer. So it is crappy quality. It is what it is. So at no part in what we watched do they say, welcome back, guys. Last y'all saw of us, Lindsay was single, and our Lindsay was, dating. Well, she's gotten married since, and she's had a baby since. No, in their introduction, it was like, hey, this is who we are. These are our kids. We have a grandbaby. It didn't seem like they were coming back from something, right? No, it seemed like they were introducing themselves to us for the very first time with a baby, with a husband. And listen, we allow people here with different opinions. It's fine. However, if you're like being rude, we'll boot you out. And my mods are really good at like giving people chance after chance after chance. And to Dana, I'm talking about things as they talk about them. The biggest part that tape is not mentioned till the end. So I'm not going to jump right to the end. I'm going to play it and talk about it as it's played. Oh, I wish they would pay me because I already feel this way. I'm already here to debunk her. Put a little change in my pocket because I'm doing it anyways. I can't imagine them paying anybody though, and that's kind of the world that we live in, especially on social media. If you have a different opinion, that's what other people go to. Oh, like I get accused that Kate and Ty from Teen Mom's paying Elle Bee. No, they're not. This is just the opinion that I hold. I doubt they're paying anybody. First off, this only came out like 3 days ago. This came out like 3 days ago that this was going to air. It came out like 3 days ago. They posted the promo. I'm sure that's when they found out as well. I'm sure the Chrisleys found out as well when we all did. They don't have any communication with her, with Lindsay. So they probably found out the second that we did. And now they're going to go around and like ask little creators to debunk her. No. You know what they're going to do? You know what they're going to do? They're not going to pay any mind to us, but they're going to debunk her in a few days. Guarantee you Todd's going to address this on their podcast where they have a ton of listeners, on their YouTube channel where they have a ton of listeners and followers. They ain't got to pay the little people when they have a way bigger platform where they can do it. It didn't take me but 10 minutes to be able to debunk some of this stuff. It took me 10 minutes. to be able to debunk some of this. So I'm sure, and they have the memories of it. So they can surely go back and probably get paperwork to document it. Like, hey, this is when we filmed the pilot. Here's like paperwork. And if you notice, Lindsay has this big binder sitting on her lap, but she don't show no paperwork. She ain't showing it. And if you look and you dig, you find all the dates. If you watch the first episode. So yeah, they don't have to go around paying people. I mean, but if they are, I'm already doing it because this is my belief. My research tells me she's not being honest. So if they want to pay people, throw a little change my way. Anyways.
At what point did you then decide I'm not doing this?
So while the pilot was being filmed, there was also one-on-one or two people, like I think my parents were interviewed together, and then there were one-on-one with production interviews that were going on. And I was scheduled to film that day and was in my parents' hallway leading into the kitchen where they were filming this interview. Call it nosy if you want to call it nosy. I overheard, because I was in the hallway, them repeating to production that Lindsay was demanding $1 million wedding
While filming?
while filming.
So that was
Where's that clip at? Where's that clip? You know it would have been put in one of the episodes. So where is that clip? I couldn't find it. And in the very first episode, Lindsay was married. So where did that go? To me, this is like, it don't make sense because I'm like, oh my goodness, she was married in the very first episode. So where did all this like footage that started a year previous that never aired? But you said it did. She literally said earlier, the pilot that we filmed was season 1. Well, I don't think so. We're missing that because what we saw at season 1 don't add up to what you said. The timing, nothing. She also said for a long time that she did not report them to the FBI, and it came out in Discovery that she absolutely did. Exactly, Nat. Yep.
decided that was going to be your storyline.
Mhm.
Okay.
And so that's the point that I went upstairs, gathered the things that I needed to get that were mine, and took off my mic. My dad came upstairs and he said,
Let me ask you guys this. Do you guys think that Todd would lie to production for his daughter to get $1 million wedding? He could give her a wedding if he wanted to. He could have a nice wedding for her if he wanted to. Or do you think maybe Lindsay thought, well, you know what, we're on the show. Maybe if I tell production they can film my wedding, they'll give me a really nice wedding. You know, because I eloped at my last wedding, so I really didn't get to have the wedding of my dreams because we just went and did it really quickly. So maybe if I tell them they can film it, they'll pay for it. What makes more sense? Todd, who literally had her up in a condo with 2 cars in 19, wanting the network to pay for her wedding, something that he probably would have done? Or do you guys think she wanted the wedding?
if you walk away now, you walk away forever. And I said, I'm good with that because I'm not doing this lie. Like, I'm already married and I'm already pregnant. Like, why am I going to be presented as I'm demanding this $1 million wedding for freak's sake?
Where's
I
that?
eloped. Like, I'm already married.
Rightfully so. You don't want to upset your actual husband because at the end of the day, you have to go home to your husband and your family.
And 2, I think, you know, she eloped. I think more than anything, she probably, after she eloped, thought, you know, I would like to have a nice wedding. But I'd be damned if Todd Chrisley pays for it because look what happened when he paid for my cars at my house. He had rules. If I ask him to pay for my wedding, you know, he's going to have rules and he's probably going to want it at the location he wants it to be at. And he probably ain't going to allow me to invite all my friends that he don't like. So, you know, it probably would have been over her dead body that she would have let Todd Chrisley pay for her wedding. So I feel like if this little story that I don't even know where it came from, I don't even feel like it would have been Todd's idea to try to get the network to pay for her wedding. I feel like if he wanted to give her a wedding, he would have said, hey, I'll pay for it. However, I don't think she would have allowed her to him to pay for it because she don't want Todd in control of anything of hers because she thinks he's too controlling. Which
Correct.
he is very
So
controlling.
I could see that. And
And I was close to my husband's parents and his family because through the estrangement, that was my family, right? And so in the event that this does air, what are they going to think?
How do you explain it
like
to
how
someone
do you
who's not-
explain that?
Mhm.
They don't have any knowledge of TV or what the mindset was for that storyline. None of, if it would have been a situation where we're like, okay, we're all agreeing that we're going to run with this story and everybody's been made aware and the joke's on production, that's a different conversation.
Sure. But when your husband is upset about it, you didn't agree to it. And now you're going to be, and I've always said that about production. If you want me to be the villain, tell me that ahead of time. Don't edit it and I have no knowledge of it. I'll give you all what you want, but I got to be a part of the plan.
Correct.
So I could,
Like, let's be teammates here.
yeah, no, I agree with you. You then receive letters.
It sounds like you guys were, like in this story that she's telling, she didn't tell production she was pregnant or married when they reached out to her. She hid that. She could have very well said, I'm pregnant, I'm married. However, her and her dad have a discussion and she says her dad told her to not wear her rings. Sounds like it was something that you guys were talking about. Yeah, maybe he wouldn't give her a nice wedding because he didn't like her husband. You could be right. So maybe she was trying to get production to pay for the wedding.
From attorneys about suing you after you decide to walk away from the show.
So I walked away that day. At that time, Will and I were living with my nanny. Papa had just passed away. We moved in with her while we were building our house, and it was good for me and her. She had just lost her best friend and the love of her life and had not really known a life before him. And so I felt like at that time I wasn't working. I was pregnant. We can go through this together, right? Like, I'm going to get through my pregnancy and you're going to get through the early phases of the grieving process, and I can have lunch with her and we can have dinner with her. And that was the whole mindset behind that. So I was at home one day and FedEx came, and it was a letter that was addressed to me. And it was from an attorney named Harrison J. Dosick, very high power attorney from what I recently researched. He actually, unfortunately, passed away at 65 years old, but he did trademark stuff for Angelina Jolie. So, I mean, this is not just, some run of the mill attorney. Like, we just paid a couple $100 to have him send a scare letter. Like, this is a high power guy. And the letter, unfortunately, I don't have the copy of that letter. I never had an electronic copy of that letter. It was only sent via FedEx, but I do have my responses that I sent via email. September 5th, 2012, I say, I am responding to your letter of last week and requesting a copy of the acting services agreement I signed. I am not familiar with this agreement and I would like to see that so I can respond to you. Thank you for your help. Sincerely, Lindsay Campbell. From what I remember, in the letter that was sent to me was essentially a demand, like, either you are participating in this because you have already filmed for this pilot, or you are going to owe $40,000 towards the cost of production for this pilot because you're now no longer participating. At that time, and I want people to understand, I'm 23, or I think I was still 22 whenever I received this letter. At 22 years old, fresh out of school. Will and I had, fortunately, no college debt. Will's parents paid for him to go through school. I went on academic scholarship. We were building our first home. We were pregnant with our child. $40,000 at that time. Even now, but at 22 years old, that seems like I will never pay this back. And that
I had found the age that she was.
was my mindset. I'm never going to be able to afford to pay this back. And now we're in a very bad situation because we are going to be in debt and bring our child into a world with $40,000 worth of debt.
That was a heavy burden to carry.
So the next letter that I had sent to him was on September 20th. I'm going to assume, based off of what I said in the response, that
What's the year on that, Lindsay?
he had sent me something else. I said, "Dear sir, I'm responding to your letter of last week regarding a contract with Maverick Television. I received a copy of the terms agreement. However, this was not addressed to me, nor is it an address that I would have received mail. I have never been over the terms or content of this letter, nor did I sign that agreement, as the back page was left blank. I do not feel I had any binding contract with Maverick Television, nor have you provided me with such. Thank you so much for your help. Sincerely, Lindsay."
You film for a pilot and you feel like you're not in contract with the production company? You think you just walk away? And she's literally saying, like, no, I don't think I signed anything. Girl, I'm sure you did.
Campbell.
Was that the end of the communications?
Yeah, that was pretty much the end of the communications, because I knew I was either going to pay the $40,000, they were possibly going to sue me, or I was going to do the show.
So even though you didn't sign it and you had never gone over them, you still were in fear that you were going to have to owe them $40,000 and decide to go back to the show.
So I guess Kayla's buying that they filmed a pilot and she never signed anything, which I would assume that she would have, but I would assume she would have.
Do you remember what the conversation was like with your dad? Like, did it end up being okay?
I don't remember what the conversation was like with my dad, although the pilot aired as season 1 and season 2, I was a very minimal cast member.
Murder, the pilot aired as season 1. She has said that like 2 or 3 times. The pilot, in which she claims she pretended to not be pregnant. She pretended to not be married. She pretended like she wanted this wedding, and Todd made those claims that, oh, she wants $1 million wedding. What else? That was all supposed to be in the pilot season 1, episode 1. But it was not. I just showed you guys episode 1, where they literally introduced themselves to the world.
In season 2.
So your dad was just okay with you not doing the wedding and having that storyline?
Yeah, I mean, that had already aired.
Okay.
You know, it aired on the pilot. And so it just wasn't.
So she says that storyline aired on the pilot. She just said it again.
What it was.
Sure.
Like, that's what you said.
That Alani looks good, though.
That's what aired. That's not what happened. And just proceeded on. Again, I was a very minimal cast member of season 2. And the reasons behind that was because production had put together a therapy session for me and my dad. And we were to meet.
Okay, we don't have to listen to that. They went to therapy. Allegedly, Ty got mad and said it was his show and she needed to do things his way and stormed off. All right, let's jump to 34.
So this is all, the show renegotiations are 2016. You're arguing for payment for Jackson. In this same year, you see Robbie Hayes, who was a former Bachelor contestant.
Correct. So just to back up a little bit, the show had initially.
Yeah, that's what you know, I can understand that. Like, no, but she says that they filmed that. She says Todd and Julie, one of the reasons she got mad and left, or the reason she got mad and quit filming, she says the reason she got mad and quit filming was because she was walking down the hall. Todd and Julie were filming in the kitchen, and they heard Todd say, yeah, Lindsay wants $1 million wedding. That was nowhere on the first season or the first episode. It was not there because the first episode they were married. She was pregnant. She already had the baby, I mean. And she's not talking about preliminary interviews. She's saying they filmed that. That was her storyline. She just said, like, that, you know, that was my storyline, to not be pregnant, to not, you know, be married. And that was what filmed. That's what filmed, and that's was put out on the pilot and episode 1. She has said that like 3 or 4 times at this point. So if you really listen to what she's saying, she's claiming that's what episode 1 was. Her really pregnant, but claiming to not be. Her dating Will, but not married to Will yet. And I'm like, where is that at? I literally found season 1, episode 1, to which she says was in fact the pilot. Yeah, Jackson was in the pilot. Sure was.
Been filmed out of Georgia.
Okay.
When my sister.
Now, the only thing that I can think of that would make this all make sense, that maybe is that they filmed a pilot that didn't make it to air, and then they refilmed next year. But she's even claiming that the whole idea came up when her grandfather was in the hospital, which would have been June, July 2013. She said that's when the whole idea came up, right? So, yes, she was already pregnant. So I guess maybe they could have filmed in August, and that never aired. But according to everything that I can find, they never filming started for the pilot May 2013. And by May 2013, it makes 100% sense that Jackson was like 5 months old. He looks about 5 months old in the episode, that she was clearly married. I'm on a live, buddy. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I muted because my son came in. So the only thing I could think of is maybe they filmed when she was pregnant after her grandfather passed, and that was never put out. And they refilmed again the very next year at the same time, like around the same time. And that's what went out. But she says several times that whole storyline was aired on the pilot.
Decided that she was going to college in Nashville. My parents relocated and moved the show to Tennessee.
Got it. Okay.
I had to travel at that point. So I would fly to Nashville. Sometimes it would be like if I was requested for a day and then not until 3 days later, I would fly in and fly back home. Like fly in earliest flight out, fly back home. Great strain on the marriage for
I
sure.
bet.
But I just
Girl, don't do it then.
want to note that that wasn't the only strain that was on my marriage. My dad did not have a good relationship with my husband. He did not accept him. And Will didn't have a good relationship with my dad, did not want a relationship with my dad, and did not want anything to do with TV. Will
Did not have a good relationship with my dad, did not want a relationship with my dad. I think that's telling too. That, okay, now from what I was able to find online, she said, which I didn't show this a while ago, but she said the conversation, the first she ever heard about filming was when her grandfather was in the hospital. He was in the hospital sick for a couple of weeks, which was 2013. She said that's the first that I heard about it. And then he passed, and we were supposed to start that filming. They were supposed to start initially the same month that he died. And she was estranged from them. So Lindsay was estranged from Todd and Julie. And so Todd and Julie were approached. They were going to film and I guess not have Lindsay in it. But when his dad got put in the hospital, they reconnected at the hospital. And so Todd told Lindsay, we were supposed to start filming a show this month, but now that everything's going on, we're going to push it back. So Dad passes. They start filming like 2 months later. And online, that's what Lindsay says, that she was told while they were in the hospital. That was the first that she heard of it. Her dad told her about it. But everything that I find online says they didn't even start filming until May 2013. And he died June or July 2012. I think it's July 2012.
Wanted our life to be a simple life. He wanted to live middle class. He wanted to have his job. He wanted me to have a job, and he wanted to raise Jackson. The TV thing was something that he never wanted to be a part of. So not only did he not have relationships with my family, because we were filming a family reality TV show, I was always with my family. So that drew a bigger wedge between.
My thing is like, why wouldn't you at least be like, you know what, maybe I don't have a good relationship with her dad, but at least try. I would like to have one. She's like, he didn't even want one. He didn't want one. He didn't care to have one. And they did. He was on the show. Will was on the show. And they went out to the gun range, so they did things together where, yeah, Todd made his little comments, but he put forth a little bit of an effort,
Will and I than I could have ever imagined that it would have. And there was a significant amount of travel at that time for the show. And ultimately we decided that we were going to separate. Georgia does not recognize legal separation.
Okay.
However, Will and I had a legal agreement of separation.
Okay.
At that time, I separate from Will and I start seeing Robbie Hayes roughly around September of 2016.
In doing so, you and the person that you're dating go to a friend's house and hook up at some point.
Yeah. So he had come in town for a weekend. We had plans to go to Topgolf. We went out.
I'm just wondering, why do you bring him to your house or something or wherever you were staying? Because she later says, if you listen to the whole podcast, she changes her story several times. We wasn't great friends, just somebody that would go over to the house and hang out, talk makeup and reality TV shows and drink wine with, not anything too deep or whatever, but deep enough that while she was at work, you went to her house and had sex in one of the bedrooms.
Bars, drinking, we were having ourselves a good time and ended up staying over at that time one of my friend's apartments with her and her boyfriend. I do think that this is an important detail for me to share, the whole reference to puppy cam. She had a dog that had seizures, and when she was at work, she had installed that puppy cam. So if something happened to the dog.
I might have got that wrong. Maybe they were all hanging out because I remember work, puppy cam. Why didn't the friend tell you though? Hey, if you are going to stay the night in that room, there's a camera in there. Don't do the do unless you want me to watch it later. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, she very much was just kind of hang out, whatever, not a big deal, blah, 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 blah.
That she could go home.
Okay.
That's why she had the puppy cam. Yes, did we have sex at her place? Yes, we did. That's why I've always said, did I consent to that? No. Did I know that camera was watching? Absolutely not. Could there be a potential that there's one? Because the dog cam does exist and we did do that. Yes.
So now we're going into January 2017. So not far off from this time that you had at your friend's house and there being a puppy cam. In late January, you're out at a football game with your friends, is following you from.
Okay, so now this girl that lived in the house with the puppy cam, her and Lindsay quit being friends with her. Not over the tape thing. Lindsay don't know about that yet. Todd don't have a grandson. Oh, he does have a grandson. You're talking about Jackson. Well, Todd did not cut off Jackson. Lindsay cut Todd off from Jackson. I have a complete brain fart. I have no doubt if Lindsay would allow Todd and Julie to have a relationship with Jackson outside of her, they would do it in a second. Lindsay put that wall up, you know? So this girl that she was friends with, that they did the do in the girl's house, right? She quits being friends with the girl because she said, I found out that my friend had friends that didn't align with like who I was. I didn't really care for some of her other friends, didn't align with who I was, so I quit being friends with her. However, she didn't tell her or anything. She just like quit being friends with her. So then the girl starts trying to get in touch with Lindsay. Lindsay won't answer. Allegedly, she starts showing up all the places Lindsay's at, but I guess she never said anything at first. Like she showed up several times and Lindsay's seen her, but she never approached her. I don't know. But then she says, one time while they're out, the girl approaches her after following her to like multiple bars. And it's like, I need to talk to you. Like, what happened? Why did we quit being friends? And she was like, I didn't want to talk to her. So I ended up leaving that place. She don't explain like what was said other than like the girl was there, followed me to several different locations that night, finally come and asked me, finally was like, can we talk? And I was like, I really didn't want to talk. But then we started talking and she wanted to know why I wasn't her friend anymore. And I was like, you know what? I didn't come here to do this. So I left. So she says a few nights later, she's at a party with some of the same friends and the girl calls her phone. So she answers. Well, the people's like, why don't you answer and record her so you have evidence of what she's doing? At this point, I really don't know what she's doing other than, y'all were friends. I mean, close enough to where you brought home somebody that you were sleeping with and slept with them at her house. And then all of a sudden you ghost her like Lindsay does to people. Oh, I don't like your friends. I'm going to ghost you. With no explanation. The girl's like texting you because you're her friend, calling you, no response, no response, no response. So then she sees you and she finally says, like, what is the deal? I'm not talking to you. Okay. Well, then she calls you again to be like, what is going on? You answer because your friends say, answer, see what she's going to say, record her so you have evidence. And the girl's like, what? Like, what is going on? Like, what is the deal? Why? Like, what happened? And then the rumor comes about this tape, that this tape exists, whatever. Well, Lindsay, she's having a relationship with her parents, Todd and Julie again. So she says when she found out about the tape, she is at Todd, her parents' house. So in her dad's office, she files a police report. She gets online, files a police report from her dad's office. So her dad knew about it. Let's see. And Kale's like, did anybody else know about it? She's like, nope, just me and my dad. Girl, you mean to tell me you didn't tell nobody? You mean to tell me you didn't tell any of your friends? You didn't tell Robbie? Other people knew about that. I mean, if somebody called me and said I had a tape like that, I would definitely tell like my mom, my sisters, my friends. I'm like, oh my God. It would not just be like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I wouldn't go around screaming it to the masses, but I would talk to my friends about it. But Kel's like, and nobody knew about it, but you and Todd, just me and Todd.
Oh, yeah. No, I did file an initial police report in the jurisdiction of where she lived. I had actually reached out to law enforcement to where I had reached out to law enforcement in the county that I resided in. They directed me to her jurisdiction and said, file that report there.
Okay. So you file a report. And in the middle of all of this,
I actually filed it from my dad's closet. I was still filming for Chrisley Knows Best. I had filed the report with the Brookhaven Police Department in Fulton County. And my dad was aware at that time when I filed.
Okay. So that is how Todd Chrisley finds out about the sex tape.
Yes.
Did Chase find out about the sex tape at that point?
I don't explicitly remember ever having a conversation with Chase about that. What I do know was my dad had direct knowledge that I had filed that police report and was actually encouraged and instructed to do so by him at that time.
Not too far after that, you learn that Kyle is subpoenaed and interviewed for what?
So there was, and this is the earliest article that I was able to find, the name Jody Fleischer, who was a reporter for Channel 2 Action News local to Atlanta. To my knowledge, she was an investigative journalist that was covering this story. So the earliest report that I could find was a WSB TV, Channel 2 Action News, where it says Channel 2 investigates, state opens investigations after records show reality star dodged taxes. In here, it says that state documents show that investigators have subpoenaed Chrisley's eldest son, Kyle, who still lives in Georgia and is estranged from his famous father. At this time, I was still on the show.
But Kyle is being subpoenaed and interviewed.
Yes, I was never subpoenaed from the state ever. I was never subpoenaed from the federal government ever.
Why would they subpoena Kyle?
I don't know. I wish I could give you the answer.
Now, can you confirm to me that she was on the witness list? She was a potential on the witness list, or was that true or not?
To that, the only thing that I possibly can think was we were all still collectively on the show and Kyle wasn't. And it was well known that he was estranged. Maybe they went there because he was the only known estranged person.
Okay. But because he was subpoenaed and interviewed, that is how you found out?
No. I pulled this article. This is the first article that I could find with the earliest date of anything publicly coming out outside of the bankruptcy filing. Those are federal documents, right? I found out watching TV with Will one night. I had come back from filming and was watching TV, and it flashes across the screen on Channel 2 Action News this story. So,
about your parents?
About my parents. So I actually contacted my dad and said, this is on the local news.
And what was...
But you do understand Todd Chrisley's been like fighting a federal indictment. And a lot of his money's been going there. So while I'm sure he misses his grandson who's been taken away from him, he's also had like a lot more going on in the years that his daughter. And the thing about it is while, yeah, they become estranged, they also got back together. They also rekindled that relationship. And while they were estranged the first time, this was talked about. While they were estranged the first time, he actually did get to see Jackson. Did they talk about it on the podcast where they were all together? I think maybe it was that one. You would have to go watch to check, or maybe Lindsay talked about it. Yeah, and let's not, it doesn't matter if she's biracial. I hate when people bring up like the fact that somebody's black, white. She's just their granddaughter. She is their granddaughter. She's actually legally their daughter. But when they were estranged the first time, one of them talked about how they still got to see Jackson. So the only time they haven't got to see Jackson is, so they got to see Jackson the first estrangement. Then they were not estranged. Then what else happened? They were not estranged. They became estranged the second time after filming. And then they rekindled again before they went to prison. And then after the sentencing, when they found out she absolutely did communicate it with the FBI and the prosecution, they become estranged again. But they've had a lot more going on at that point. So, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know if in the state that they live in, if they have grandparents' rights. So she lives in Georgia and they lived in Nashville.
His response.
I don't think he had one.
So you go back to Nashville and you film.
Yeah.
Despite whatever your dad is going through and this being on the news, you guys still just go according to schedule for filming. So you're back in Nashville.
And I had Jackson with me at that time.
Okay. What happens when you're in Nashville filming?
So per my production schedule, I was filming from March 6th to March 10th. However,
so in Nashville, grandparents can have visitation rights, but they are not automatic and require a court order.
There was a day off in between that.
Okay.
On that off day, the only people that were in the house, and this was early in the morning, was Jackson and I were in the kitchen. My dad was in the living room on a chair. I believe Julie had taken Chloe to school, and the housekeeper was in the house, and the doorbell rang. My dad went to the door, I see at the door, there are roughly 6 to 8 police officers, and they hand him an envelope. Jackson's still in the kitchen at this time. I start texting Will, and I'm like, something must be going on, because why would there be 6 to 8 police at their house handing them an envelope?
Do you think that was the first time your dad found out about an official investigation?
No,
You think he knew already?
I do.
Okay.
I agree. I
So
like her
does your
hair,
dad
though.
explain to you what the envelope was,
No.
what the cops were doing there?
There was
Did you ask
never-
questions?
Never asked a question. Continued on my morning routine with Jackson. I was unfortunately still being paid by paper check from production. So again, my off day, I go to the bank to deposit my check. That's where I run into my nanny and Julie at the bank. I did not know that they were going to Bank of America.
Okay. So what happens at Bank of America?
I go in to deposit my check. It's raining outside, and I bring Jackson in with me. Nanny's there. I ask her if she can watch Jackson while I go and deposit my check. Julie's in a side office. When I get finished depositing my check, I get Jackson from Nanny, and then Nanny goes into that little office that Julie was in. When I saw them there, I was not expecting to see them there. I didn't know that we were all going to the bank, but I specifically remember I had to deposit those checks, and I was going to J. Crew to return some stuff that my dad had purchased for Jackson. And I asked them, what are y'all doing here? And it was told to me that Nanny was being added as a signer on the Bank of America account.
Which, if you're looking at the grand scheme of things, is a little suspicious, in my opinion. When did you start speaking to Kyle again?
So
Well, I
did
don't know
not.
if somebody, what they knew, what Todd already knew was that his business partner, Mark Braddock, absolutely falsified documents to get loans in their name that they didn't get the money for. Mark Braddock kept that money, allegedly. So he knew this. And now he is finding out he's being indicted. So I don't know if maybe adding Nanny Faye to the account. I don't really know what would be the point of that. I don't know if it would be to ensure something or to scam in some sort of way. I don't know. I'm not sure. Yeah, I caught that too. She's returning the stuff that her dad bought Jackson. Was it too small? Was it? But why did you return it? Right. I
Know
wondered
this
that
because
too.
we were not in communication at all. Kyle was completely estranged from the family. He had gotten a job at UPS, I think he started in seasonal, like stocking trucks and
Sure.
stuff. And then he got his own route, was driving a truck, and he was on my route where my house was.
But he never reached out to tell you, hey,
Never.
you're on my route.
Never.
So did you just happen to see him one
I
time?
saw him. I
Oh,
opened the door,
and it was him.
and it was him.
And what was that like?
Heartbreaking. It's like we're all doing the show and we have our own lives, and he's working for UPS, which is a great job, right?
Yeah.
Make a very decent salary. But it's just kind of like it slaps you in the face. I open the door and he's standing there, and part of me was like, oh God, is he in trouble? But no, he was just my UPS driver. And so we kind of started having small talk from there. And he was like, I live really close to you.
You didn't even know he lived by you.
No.
So at some point while your brother is your UPS driver, are you only talking when he's delivering packages, or are you now in communication with Kyle?
No, we shared contact information at that time. It was a very surface type relationship, but in my mind, he's my biological brother. He's delivering my packages for UPS, had struggle with staying on the right life path. I'm like, okay, well, maybe, he's doing a good thing. He has a wife, like all of these things. In the meantime, all of this stuff is going on, this Channel 2 stuff. Kyle divulges to me that his now ex-wife was the source of the story,
Not Kyle.
not Kyle.
So Kyle gets subpoenaed. Kyle gets interviewed. Action 2 News is reporting on this, names Kyle, but it wasn't Kyle that tipped her off. It was his wife, his ex-wife,
Yes.
his wife at the
That
time.
is what he said.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we believe him?
I do, because
Okay, so Kyle later came forward to say that it was his mom's idea, that they were mad. I don't remember exactly. Somebody help me with this. They were mad because, Todd and Julie had gotten custody of Chloe and would not let them see Chloe just at any given time. And Teresa, his mom, had this idea. There was this investigation already going on. Speak to the feds, talk to the feds, tell me anything you know.
later I find out that there was also communications from her to the bankruptcy trustee. I find out this information from Kyle. I get in contact with because I know she's having these communications only vicariously through my brother. I wanted to get information from her
Is your brother's wife at the time?
at the time.
Okay.
I knew that she had information, so I wanted to get information from her because you've got to consider I'm still bringing my child to this place of work. 6 or 8 police show up
your
at the front
parents'
door. What's going
house.
on? Because
Ask them, mom and dad, what the hell is happening? You mean to tell me 6 to 8 cops show up to your parents' house to serve them first off? Probably not, maybe, but I wouldn't think it would take that many to hand them a piece of paper. However, if the cops showed up at my mama's house, 6 deep, 8 deep, I'm being like, what the hell's going on, little bit? What is happening? You know who I'm not going to call? The police. Because guess what? I'm on my mama's side all day, every day. I'm on my mama's side. Now, if they need help hiding the body, sorry, mama, you wrong for that. Maybe then I'll go to the police. But guess what I'm not going to do? Is if this man that raised me, the man that raised me, and he didn't owe any taxes, Michelle. That's the problem. That was a part of the problem, Michelle, is he did not owe any taxes. As a matter of fact, the state of Georgia had to pay them $1 million because the state of Georgia tried to say that Todd owed taxes. Filed this lawsuit. Guess who lost their job? The people that led the investigation. Betty Clark, IRS member, IRS employee, got kicked back to something else at the IRS. She literally testified that they owed taxes when they did not. That's how they won their appeal on Julie Chrisley's side. She literally admitted, Betty Clark, IRS employee, admitted at trial. She said, yeah, they owe taxes. For what years? Oh, it was like 3-4 years. How much? Oh, this much, this much. Their taxes had been accessed like over 10,000 times. He actually overpaid his taxes. Exactly. He actually overpaid his taxes. And that man's going to pay more in taxes than we're going to make probably in a lifetime. He's, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's paying hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes when, like, I know in my lifetime, I'll never pay that much. And people are like bitching about him not paying taxes when he is paying taxes. He did pay taxes. Betty Clark, the IRS employee who testified that they had not paid taxes for these many years and they owed this amount of money, lied on the stand. She admitted that. When they said, when's the last time you accessed your taxes? Oh, last night, yesterday before, I had to do this. Well, then after trial wrapped up and they were found guilty, their employee, their attorney reached out to Betty Clark and said, hey, like, how much do they owe? Because my clients want to settle this. They don't want to owe taxes. They don't want to get in trouble. Kyle had an accountant. He had people do all his stuff for him. No, guess what? When are raking in millions of dollars, you have an accountant. You have people that do everything for you. That's what Mark Braddock did everything for Todd. That's why he didn't understand. That's why Todd didn't know all this was happening, because Mark Braddock admitted this. Mark Braddock admitted to the feds and got immunity. All he had to say was, yeah, I did it. Yeah, I falsified records to get loans and I did it, but they knew about it. I'm the one that did all of it. The money didn't go into their bank account, but they knew about it. There was never any evidence that they knew about it. The two people that they had on their side, Mark Braddock was a known liar, and Betty Clark, the IRS employee, lied. When their attorney reached out to her and said, how much do they owe? My clients want to settle this. They don't want to owe taxes. She goes, oh, they don't owe anything. Excuse me? They don't owe anything. No, they don't owe anything. Well, how is that possible? You testified in court they owed money. They haven't paid anything since you said that, so how do they not owe? Oh, well, because the prosecution told me to testify that they owed for these years this amount of money. So you lied on the stand. Well, I was told to say that by the prosecution. What? Yeah, many of those IRS employees and the people that worked this investigation were literally fired. Some sued. Georgia, the state of Georgia had to pay the Chrisleys $1 million.
because no one's being forthcoming.
And the Chrisleys overpaid, so then they had to pay them what they had to refund them what they overpaid.
And quite honestly, I don't necessarily blame my parents for not being forthcoming, because that's their dealings and stuff. But when you're also filming a show with your family and that's other people's place of work, whether it's your home or not, that is our place of work, and that's going on, that is concerning.
I would agree.
So I ask, do you have anybody's contact at the state so I can call and try to find out information, because I'm scared to bring Jackson back there.
Yeah, let me just call the police and see why they're over here at my parents' house. No.
Also, you have to consider,
No,
Will didn't
I'm
like
not.
us filming on the show at all.
Let him find out there was 6 to 8 police officers showing up, and let him find out that there's something going on. And, that's going to put a further strain on your marriage that you just reconciled.
Correct. So
She says correct. Yeah, it would. But she said she told Will. She said as soon as it happened, she texted Will and was like, dude, something's happening. There's 6 to 8 cops here. Then Carol's like, oh, let Will find out that happens. Yeah, exactly. Well, she told him.
I felt like, as the mother in the situation, I'm bringing my child to this environment. If my husband finds out that this is what he's being subjected to, all hell's going to break loose. So I get in contact with Josh Waits only for informational purposes only. Like, hey, I am now aware that the state of Georgia was the one who had supporting officers from Nashville. I don't know how that works, but maybe if it's like an out-of-state service, they need local law enforcement to assist. So I do think that's why there were all of the extra police officers and then him serving for the Department of Revenue. I just wanted to know, not the details of the situation, but like, is this going to continue, or was this a one-time thing? Because I need to know if it's safe for me to bring my child back into that environment. And at that point, he told me, no, in my opinion, as a parent, it is not. The situation is going to get far worse before it gets better.
So what do you do with this information?
I do not bring Jackson back to Nashville at that time. I also personally feel like, because I reached out to the Department of Revenue and the individual that was heading it up at the Department of Revenue, now this person had my cell number and had provided me information. He knew at this point that I was leaving the show through communications.
So you first decide you're going to not bring Jackson back, but then you also decide you're no longer going to participate.
This officer is aware at that point that I am leaving the show. He had followed up a couple of times asking me.
Okay, Taylor says what she's calling the pilot was a sizzle reel. That was when they didn't know she was pregnant. Todd has talked about this before on his old podcast before going to jail. Okay, so then it wasn't, because she said numerous times the pilot was shown as episode 1, season 1. She has said that like 4 times in this video. The pilot, where that was the storyline. I wasn't married. I wanted a wedding. I wasn't pregnant. That was episode 1, season 1. So if there was this sizzle reel, and Todd's talked about it, I would love to hear what he has to say, because I feel like, and everything that I'm finding says that they didn't start filming until May 2013. Jackson was born by then. Maybe something else was filmed. I don't know. That's possible that I didn't find something. However, I would have to believe that if Lindsay was pregnant and they were filming, more than likely Todd didn't know. She probably was scared to tell him, because guess what happened? Todd wanted her to finish college, get married, have a baby, live like that. Well, I guess she was married, huh? She said she got pregnant afterwards. So maybe he did know and they didn't tell. Maybe he didn't know. I don't know. But I would love to hear what he got to say about it. And I have a feeling we're going to. I have a feeling we're going to hear what he has to say about it. But as far as her saying the pilot was episode 1 on season 1, well, I showed y'all the clip from that. She has her baby. They talk about her being married. So maybe there was something else filmed prior. And I would love to hear what Todd has to say about that. Do you know where he talked about that, Taylor? I'll have to go find it.
About, if I had made the decision, if I was going back, or, could understand why it would be so problematic as a parent for your child to be in that situation. You don't want your child to be in that situation, even if it was like something that I did, right? I'm not subjecting him to something that someone else did that has nothing to do with him, right? He then sends me a text message saying that people within the Department of Revenue had put a punching bag in his office with my dad's face on it.
Why?
I don't know.
What were you supposed to do with that information?
Well, I can tell you what I did do with that information, and not immediately did I do it, because there were other things that transpired that we can get into in a second. But ultimately, I was the one that gave that information to my dad.
So you told your dad?
I told him, yeah.
Did you tell him the extent of what you knew?
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we're still in March. All of this is transpiring in March.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of March, there is an incident with Julie.
Mm-hmm.
By this time, you have already told Todd, your dad, everything that you know up until this point.
No.
No.
I had not.
You had not told him?
No.
Okay.
He wasn't even aware that I knew what was going on because he had not been forthcoming. And it was kind of like a tricky.
Okay, so didn't she just say she told Todd what Josh Waite said? And then she turned around and said she didn't? Did I just hear that correctly?
Understand why it would be so problematic as a parent for your child to be in that situation. You don't want your child to be in that situation, even if it was like something that I did, right?
Hey, Nikki.
I'm not subjecting him to something that someone else did that has nothing to do with him, right? He then sends me a text message saying that people within the Department of Revenue had put a punching bag in his office with my dad's face on it.
Why?
I don't know.
What were you supposed to do with that information?
Well, I can tell you what I did do with that information, and not immediately did I do it because there were other things that transpired that we can get into in a second. But ultimately, I was the one that gave that information to my dad.
So you told your dad?
I told him, yeah.
Did you tell him the extent of what you knew?
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we're still in March. All of this is transpiring in March.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of March, there is an incident with Julie.
Mm-hmm.
By this time, you have already told Todd, your dad, everything that you know up until this point.
No.
No.
I had not.
You had not told him?
No.
Okay.
He wasn't even aware that I knew what was going on.
Okay.
Because he had not been forthcoming. And it was kind of like a tricky situation. I wanted to protect myself and my son from being exposed to whatever that exposure could have potentially been. But also,
But this isn't going to
in a
make
weird
sense to me because she just said she did tell Todd. And then she says, well, at the time that the incident happened between me and Julie, I actually hadn't told him because he hadn't been forthcoming. And the incident that went down between her and Julie, according to her, led to Todd and Julie having issues with her. So did you tell him while y'all were having issues? We did. I'm just backing it up to see if I heard that correctly because she said 1 minute she told Todd and then she turned around and said the next minute she didn't tell Todd or that Todd didn't know. So I'm like, wait, what?
way, give them the privacy to be able to deal with whatever they were dealing with the thoughts that eventually they would come to us and let us know what was going on.
Sure. And you could imagine that it was probably difficult and you didn't want to be the one to say, I know what you're going through kind of deal. So there's an incident with Julie.
Mm-hmm.
What was the incident? I've heard variations of the accounts. So is there anything that you want to say about that?
That situation is just, unfortunately, very disheartening. The incident that took place was a physical altercation. I do know that that was referenced in this Lifetime documentary. I will say that people who were referencing to this altercation did not give correct events that took place. Some of these people that were involved in referencing this altercation were not even present, but there was a physical altercation. However, for the purposes of this interview, outside of that, Julie has never done anything to me and has not gone out of her way to emotionally harm me or had reckless behavior. And so for that, I want to extend the courtesy to not reference any details regarding that event.
Okay. Did you end up reporting
That's interesting.
this physical altercation anywhere?
I did.
Who did you report it to?
I reported that physical altercation to All 3 Media America.
So there are records of this altercation and
Significant records.
okay. I just wanted to clarify that because I think that for everyone involved here and for the viewers, the listeners, the audience that have followed all of the Chrisleys, you yourself included, I think everybody's confused about why you left or what the incident was. And there's been various accounts of it. And so I think it's important to note that you want to keep it private, number one, but number two, there are records of what happened. So I think that's important to note.
Anybody
production
can
company-
go to production and say, oh, this happened. Doesn't mean it happened. And production was there. Some of the members of production was there.
He did hire outside counsel after I started putting the pressure on them doing something about it. I had decided to stay on the show, and that was my job, and that was my income. Now this altercation has taken place. I don't care if anybody gets in trouble or if they don't get in trouble, but that situation needed to be addressed because that is not a healthy work environment. People gave statements regarding that incident that were not even physically present for that incident.
This incident that we're describing right now happened on March 29th, 2017.
Mm-hmm.
But somewhere between March 29th
Because people gave statements that weren't even there, incorrect information.
and May 17th, you go back to film.
Yes. So I don't necessarily recall that the date was March 29th, but if that's what records indicate, then that is true. I do know that I went back to film just based off of this filming schedule that I have. season 5, Thursday, March 30th schedule. I was requested for scenes on this day for a family bowling match at Kings Bowl in Brentwood, Tennessee. They did fly me there. I flew back right after that. They had people that were there on standby acting as security because of the event that had happened. I had to finish out this season.
Okay.
This episode actually did air as the season finale, but in the way that it was filmed, it wasn't filmed in chronological order, if that makes sense. So this was filmed on March 30th, and they also put me on Julie's bowling team.
One, I would like to note for the listeners, it is very typical in reality TV production to film things out of order, for them to film them in order, but air them.
No, we don't have to listen to that. Let's skip over that. All right, so they have the confrontation. She even admits, she does say that after the confrontation, she was like, Todd told her she could stay the night at the house. But production like whisked her off and like got her flown back home. But she says Todd did tell her like, you can stay here. Everybody calm down. She had the schedule, had to film more, and they had a celebration for Julie because she had was in remission from cancer. So they were going to film a get together celebrating her being in remission. So that's what she's talking about now.
Celebration for Julie being in remission from her breast cancer diagnosis.
No, she didn't live there. She had a kid. She stopped bringing her kid. So he absolutely, I'm sure she could have stayed with him anytime she wanted to. Like, we don't know that he didn't offer that. As a matter of fact, she talks about how the night of the confrontation, Todd absolutely did. She says that Todd said I could stay here, but production wanted to like fly me back home.
Years ago. This happened at the Marsh House in Nashville, Tennessee. I was requested for that. We were all requested to wear pink wardrobe. I was specifically requested for the celebration scene that took place over a table in a private room because they wanted it to appear as if the entire family was there. They went around the table and production cued this for us all to say something to Julie. And when it got to me, I didn't say anything.
Because you guys were still not on speaking terms from.
So you're
the
saying
incident.
that per the records, the incident took place on March 29th?
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. So this would have been April 4th.
So just a few days later.
Yeah.
Like
You're
5-6
probably not
days
going to
later.
reconcile after that, that quickly.
And I do regret that, honestly. That's another regret. I was kind of, I don't want to say forced because nobody can force you to do anything. Would there have been repercussions if I didn't go to the celebration from legal, from production? Probably. Should I have sat at the table and not said anything? No.
What
I
did you
shouldn't
do?
have. I just sat there. When it got my turn, I just sat there. In my opinion, at that time, and my emotional state at that time would be, if I said something, it's going to come across as fake to her because of what had transpired. So I felt like I was between a rock and a hard place. Like, yes, I'm so glad that she's in remission. Like, my God. But you're putting me in a situation on reality TV to do all of this, knowing the events that took place days prior.
And you're still emotionally charged, I would imagine.
Yeah. And I don't want to be there.
Fair.
And I will say that there is video footage of these things that we can share when this episode airs. I think that that's very important to just see the emotional state of where I was. We had found a video from my facial expressions from the bowling scene. And it's like, clearly I was not mentally or emotionally there. I just had to be there.
Right. So the incident happens in March. You still have to film because contractual obligations. You don't officially report the incident with Julie until May. Why?
So I was attempting to handle this situation privately.
Okay.
I had spoke to my private attorney.
Oh.
There were communications somewhat with my dad, specifically between me and him during the time that I was still filming.
Okay.
Again, we were wrapping up the season. That's why we had those pickup scenes. That's why we had season finale stuff that had to be filmed. I went back home to Atlanta. We were informed. I can't remember if they, and I don't know if your contracts ran like this or not, but they have options to pick up additional episodes.
Yes.
I believe that's what it was. And I was contacted from production, from producers, that they were bringing me back for those additional episodes.
Okay.
I had very candid conversations with this producer and let her know the only way for that to make sense for me to go back would be maybe in a therapeutic setting for those who were there that were a part of said altercation. We would film this therapeutic setting of us discussing this, but everyone needs to come to the table honest about the participation, and I would be willing to do so. And they needed to secure that certain things would not be cut out of that therapy session to make one party look like something that they didn't do.
So Ty was
So essentially, you want the full story being told. You want everyone to come to the table with honest recountings of the incident, and you would be willing to film.
Yes.
He was going to go to therapy.
Is that not what happened?
No. I was not having communications
he already went
with
to
my
therapy.
dad at that
That's not what
time,
he said.
but it was told to me through production, the producer that I was communicating with about this, that they were going to go to the other side and see what they could do and see if they would be in agreement to do this. Initially, it was an agreement until it got closer to time to actually film it.
They were in agreement?
Yeah. And then when it got closer to time to actually film it, then they pulled out and he refused to film with me.
Your dad?
Yes.
Why your dad if the incident didn't involve him?
He was there very present with that incident and is well aware that the depiction of the incident that's being said from their side is untrue. So he was refusing to film with me. And you understand reality TV. If somebody else would have refused to film with me, at the end of the day, the buck for Chrisley Knows Best stops and starts with Todd. And that's just the reality of the situation. And that's okay. You know, at that time, I knew that was my income and I'm going to have to do something else, but
Right now.
I'm not going down easy. So this is what transpired, and I want accountability for what had transpired. And so mine and Will's attorney had contacted.
Mind you, what happened with the confrontation she's talking about, they were filming at Todd and Julie Chrisley's house. She finished filming. The nanny had prepared Chloe and got Chloe ready for bed. Got her hair done, her bonnet on, bath, bed. Lindsay gets done filming. Lindsay needs to film a brand deal that she got with some brand to put up on her IG. She needs a kid, so she's going to use Chloe. So she goes and wakes Chloe up, gets Chloe up out of bed, takes her bonnet off, changes her clothes. Well, Julie ends up getting done filming, walks in to see Lindsay got Chloe out of bed and dressed. And she's like, "What the heck? Like, what are you doing? Well, I need to use her to film a brand deal." She's like, "No, like, what? Why didn't you do it earlier? Like, she was in bed. She's got school tomorrow. That's." Well, Todd comes walking in, and Lindsay tells Todd, "Get your bitch, Todd. You need to get your bitch." Well, things blew up, and it allegedly got physical. But I can't see Julie laying hands on Lindsay. I could definitely see Lindsay probably shoving Julie or something, but I really don't see Julie getting physical. But I mean, I could be wrong, but I definitely think Lindsay was the aggressor. That's just my opinion.
All Three Media and Maverick Television, which was the acting production company.
Okay, so that's where the official report starts or stops. Starts and stops. Around this time, your sister starts tweeting. Quote, "Come after me. I really don't care. Come after my mama. You're over. Watch what you tell when your bed isn't clean. Hashtag literally." To which your dad responds and says, "Especially since there's been more men in your bed than your husband as," I think he meant has, "than your husband as spent time there. Hashtag 2 bachelors. Hashtag in-laws. Hashtag videos. Hashtag photos. Hashtag let's do this." It was assumed that this was in reference to the puppy cam, which your father knew about back in 2016, so a year prior. He knew about that, and I'm assuming the 2 bachelor comment and the another man in your bed is in reference to that. I remember these tweets happening in real time, and I remember the emotional aspect, the emotional state that you were in, and how upsetting it was to basically feel like your whole family is ostracizing you. You're going through, a separation with your husband and then reconciling. Like, all of those things are more than one person should ever go through, especially at one time.
I do want it to be known, because I think it's important for context purposes, that my ex-friend wanted to be on TV. She had tried to get on reality TV shows prior to this.
So this is sort of her way in. If she remained friends with you, maybe would increase her chances to be on TV.
Yes. And I do believe that was an intent.
Anytime somebody says like, "Oh, she just wanted clout or she just wanted to get on TV," I'm like, well, if they have a story, why aren't they selling it? Like Mackenzie Edwards that was with Ryan. Like, people say that all the time. I'm like, do y'all don't even know the stories that she has that I've heard from her, other people that she don't put out there? I've seen evidence I mean, that's why, yes, I'm so glad that Ryan is doing well. I applaud him, but I have seen evidence of stuff. I've heard from people that know them. And I'm like, if she was like all about the money or clout, why ain't she going to media outlets and constantly doing interviews? I had to beg her to do an interview with me. I had to beg her. And guess what? In the interview, she still didn't like say anything crazy about Ryan. She just talked about her experience. And even saying like, I regret that I did this. I regret that I did that. I couldn't believe I did that, you know? Right, Rhonda.
She would regularly ask me to like share her photos on Instagram and stuff like that. So there was very much a desire. And I think there's room for everyone. Like if that is your desire, girl, like go for it, do it, but go about it the right way. Like don't try to do something to someone that ultimately I realize you were jealous of.
Right. And so with your dad having that information, he's essentially using this against you. You knew my pain and you used it against me.
Yeah. So this was not long, June 29th of 2017.
Your attorneys reached out June 10th of 2017. Not even 2 weeks later, Savannah is tweeting, your dad is responding to said tweets. July 12th, 2017, an anonymous person.
I think people can make mistakes, and I'm sure that was traumatizing. But at this point, she has caused 2 estrangements for like literally no reason. She has talked to the FBI and worked with the FBI when the FBI was literally seeking to put her parents away. She had snuck around behind her parents' back. Like, so, I mean, yeah, I think Todd was wrong for saying that. I really do. I don't agree with it. I don't agree with everything that Todd's done. But he literally gave them kids everything that they could ask for. He was present with them. Like, even I was watching episode 1. Like, he's, you know, his kids want to go to football games. He's like, I'll take y'all. I want to go with y'all. I'm cool to hang out with. Let me go with y'all. It's like, I'll take y'all to eat afterwards. I'll take y'all's friends to the football game, and then we'll go eat afterwards. You know, he's like, be my friend. Like, so he has tried to be present with his kids. Like when he did the clothing line, he brought Savannah in on it because he wanted to give his, you know, kids like opportunities. So while yes, I don't agree with, you know, him posting that, or I do think that he lost himself in his emotions that day. And OG and Annie, a lot of people have that misconception. Mackenzie was raised very, like, she did not know, she didn't have anybody in her family that suffered from rugs. Like, she was raised very unaware, you know, of stuff like that. And Ryan told her, his parents, and their friends that he had a prescription for Xanax, that he had anxiety, especially when on camera, and that his doctor had written him a prescription for Xanax. Now we're getting off on a totally different story, but so, and he would tell her like, oh, I'm taking my medicine, and you know, 30 minutes later, he'd be like sleepy. So she never knew a sober Ryan. So she just thought like, okay, that's Ryan on his medicine, like, you know, like his medicine. And let me tell you, I was prescribed Xanax, the lowest dosage, and it had me like Ryan. It had me like Ryan. I was managing a finance company at like 21 years old, and I was single mama too, running a finance company, stressed out, and went to the doctor. I was having panic attacks, got put on the lowest dosage. Took it in the morning before I go to work, at like a 20-minute drive, get to work. About 10 minutes after I get to work, I'm like, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, I'm exhausted. I'm just exhausted because my life is exhausting. I'm a single mom of 2 and I work all the time. So I went to the back, laid down. Next day, same thing. Right before I leave to go to work, take my medicine, drive to work, get there. Not long after I get there, I'm like, it was the 3rd day where I finally was like, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense. It's got to be the medicine. So she believed that he would. If you go back and watch that scene, OG Nanny, when she cuts the cameras, you'll hear her say, "You took Xanax, didn't you?" And he goes, "No, yes, you did." She thought he had taken his prescription medicine. Now, I do believe there was a discussion like, "Hey, your medication makes you tired. Please don't take it on our wedding day. Please don't take it, you know, when we're getting married. Please don't take your medicine because it makes you tired, you know. And clearly she thought he did. She thought that he was taking medicine, that he was prescribed. She had no idea. So a lot of people don't know this, but the next day, obviously that day, you know, the drive there, she's like, oh my goodness, he's obviously got an issue with the medicine. Like, this is too much. The next day, she finds a backpack, stuff in the backpack. She calls a hotline. She's telling them what's in the backpack. And she realizes the severity of what's going on. And she contacts Ryan's parents, and they all say, you got to get to rehab. They find a rehab, and she drives him to the rehab. They tell Ryan before they leave, if you don't go to this rehab, we're done. She just married the man. She just married the man. But she has now come to the understanding that he has a problem. So she's like, you got to get help or I'm leaving. His parents are like, you got to get help or we're done. She takes him to rehab. He says, no, I'm not going. She drives back home with him. She leaves and goes back to her parents. The next day, he says, come get me. I'll go to rehab. So she goes and gets him. She takes him to rehab. A lot of people don't know that. So a lot of people don't understand that, like, the next day, when she found, you know, she called a hotline, she called his parents, and she was like, you gotta go.
And reaches out to one of your agents regarding the puppy cam video.
Yeah, so I actually had forgotten about this, except whenever I was preparing for this, which is a little concerning that I would forget. This person went by a name called Lauren Limpler.
Lauren Limpler?
Yeah.
Is that their real name?
Absolutely not. I've never known a Lauren Limpler in my life.
Okay.
And the email reads, hi, a friend of mine posted this on Facebook, and it looks like Lindsay is with another TV celebrity. Can I book her on a press outlet? My friends have also said there is a puppy cam video out there. Is that on the internet?
But we don't know who this anonymous person is?
No idea.
What was the photo of?
It was a photo of, so the day that we were out watching football, it looks or appears as if this photo was taken from across a bar.
Okay. So someone takes a picture of you with somebody, sends it to your agent, and then also tells them about a puppy cam video. Who other than you, Todd, would have had information about the puppy cam?
Mind you, it's been years later. It's been years later, and she thinks only she and Todd knew.
No one.
Okay. So it wasn't you. It was either Todd or
You never told anybody. You had to file a police report about this possible tape. This girl allegedly knew about it. The rumor got back to Lindsay. So she called and filed a report, but now she's saying nobody but she and Todd knew about it. And the only reason she's going to say, oh, nobody but me and my dad knew about it is because then the only person that could be blamed will be Todd. Oh, because Lindsay ain't going to, you know, talk about this on social media. So then it's nobody else to blame but Todd. But there's definitely more people to blame because the rumor got to you, and that's why you filed charges. It's been time since then, so you know other people
who leaks this
about
information?
it.
Well, this looks like a paparazzi photo.
Could it have been a cell phone photo?
Absolutely. But I'm saying it clearly wasn't me because I didn't take that picture of myself. Like, it's not a selfie. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, it looks like somebody, like if you and I were out somewhere and someone saw us at a restaurant sitting in a booth, they might snap a photo and send it to somebody,
Okay,
right? Like,
sure.
That's what this photo appears as if it was like an onlooker did this. But I know from looking at the photo, that's what I looked like and what my hair was styled like on the day that we saw her at those two bars.
So 2 days later, Todd tweets,
Laughing my ass off. Don't leak what you are afraid to speak. The struggle to be relevant is heartbreaking. I'm not even talking to you. Like, why are you, like, you have my phone number? Like, what?
a month later, after this photo is leaked, the news about the puppy cam has leaked. Your attorney is in contact with production to talk about the incident that occurred on set back in March of this year. So during the same time, you're provided witness names to corroborate your account. Is that right? Did anyone also recount the same?
To my knowledge and what I was told through my attorney at the time was that everyone was under NDA with them.
So nobody could back up your story because they were under NDA?
Yes, that's what I was told. No, I don't know for a fact if they actually were under NDA.
So there's nothing you can do?
Nothing.
At this point, it is your word against everybody else's.
Hold up, but if the police called them in to talk to them, if something illegal happened, then an NDA doesn't cover that. An NDA is only going to cover in terms of the show. So that don't even make sense. Her saying like, oh, there's possibly an NDA, so they couldn't back up my story. No, it was nothing filmed. It was nothing in regards to the show. It had nothing to do with like production really. So they absolutely could have told their side of the story.
And I understand the idea of wanting to.
Do you understand, Michelle, though, how much Todd has been there for Kyle over the years? Like he said, he spent $1 million on the first episode. Todd said, I've spent $1 million trying to help you. $1 million. His son OD'd when they were estranged. Guess who was the first at the hospital? Todd. They become close again. But at the end of the day, you know who Todd's putting first? Chloe. Chloe. Todd is raising Chloe. Kyle has been a piece of crap dad to Chloe. So when it comes to the point where you have grandkids, there's only so much you can do to beg your kids to be decent human beings. And if they're not, just think of the trauma that Kyle has inflicted upon Chloe, his daughter. His daughter. He did not raise her. Then the people that she loves so much. Go watch the new Chrisley show. Go watch how much Chloe has been affected by her parents, her true parents, Todd and Julie, being sent away to prison. Something that was pushed upon by Lindsay and Kyle. Kyle is talking to the FBI, and the FBI is seeking a life sentence on Todd and Julie. And Kyle's not even thinking, what about my daughter? He raises my daughter. And even if I don't like the man, he's doing a good job raising my daughter. It's not favoritism. He treated them the same. Exactly. Not only did Kyle, but so did Chloe's mama. Chloe's mom and Kyle did drugs in front of Chloe. It's not favoritism. Guess what? I guarantee you, if Chase continues down the road, Chase went and got help. Chase went and got help. He's doing better. I guarantee you, if Chase continued to have issues, continue to shit on his parents, had a baby, didn't raise that baby, did drugs in front of that baby, and Todd and Julie had to take that baby on, I guarantee you, at some time, Chase is way younger than Kyle and has not done nearly the crap that Kyle has done. Nearly. But I guarantee you, at some point, it's not about giving up on your children, but you just have to hold them accountable, and you can have boundaries. You can have boundaries. And if Chloe is like, I don't want him around, if Grayson and Julie is like, we don't, and that's the thing. Todd is like, I love my kids. I'll always love them. I will always love them. And if this was just me involved in this, yep, I'd give them another chance. Todd said this. He said, if this was just me, I would give my kids another chance and I would have a relationship with them again. But it's not just me. It's Chloe. It's Grayson. It's Chase. It's Savannah. It's Julie that have all been affected by their doings and how they've betrayed us. I can't trust that Lindsay, I can't trust that Lindsay and Kyle will not hurt my family. So I'm not going to force my family to be around them when they continue to hurt them. And I'm sorry, at some point, yes, there is a point to where if you have an older child putting your younger children in harm's way, you got to stand up and say, listen, older child, I love you and I'll do anything for you, but I can't stand back and let you put your younger kids in harm's way. She's not, though. She signed over all right. She's not doing good. She has gotten so much money. They put her through school. They bought her a car twice. Bought her a car. Put her in an apartment. Paid for everything that she needed. Put her through school. I think twice they gave her money for school that she didn't do either time. Like, at some point, you can't allow people to continue to, and she hasn't asked. That's the thing. Now, maybe she's asked recently. I don't know. But I know in one podcast, they said she don't even try. That Chloe's mom don't even try to see her. So if she don't try, why are they going to force it?
Protect the show. I get that. That is also their livelihood. So I fully understand that. But a theme is if we go about things the right way, we never have to get to that. Because if this was actually addressed and we were actually all honest about it and said, hey, maybe I shouldn't have done this and it wouldn't have led you to do this, that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, acknowledgement goes a long way.
I think it's human nature to just want to feel heard. So even if other parties, to this didn't agree. All they had to do was acknowledge your feelings. Hey, I hear you.
I do want to say that the night that incident took place, I know we talked about it a little bit ago, but I was asked by my dad to stay at their house. And I said no. Production said no. They put me in a production van,
Listen,
took me to an undisclosed hotel location, would not give the other people that were involved in the situation the location that I was at, flew me back home. Why would production go through all of that if I did something?
why did it cut off? It literally says.
Ever had a
Todd-
conversation at work?
It literally says Todd told her she could stay. She was like, Todd told me I could stay, or maybe she said Dad, whatever, that I could stay, but production made me leave. Well, maybe production made you leave because you were the aggressor. Maybe production made you leave because you were the one causing the issues. That makes the most sense. Oh, well, she's causing the issues, so get her ass out of here. Listen, this whole story is making me cuss. I gotta stop. I gotta stop. Sorry, guys. But anyways, we are at 2 hours and 10 minutes. That is just part one. That is part one. And I called several things that didn't make sense. We know Todd. I'm 1,000% sure that Todd and Julie they're going to talk about this. I think they will address it. I could be shocked and be wrong, but I think they're going to address it. Michelle, she has her own opinion, which is fine. That Todd is all about money and shows favoritism. And I'm like, listen, I got 6 kids. I got 2 older kids and I got 4 younger kids. And it ain't nothing about favoritism. But when you raise your kids to be 18 and they leave the nest, if they're inflicting pain and trauma up on your ones that are still in the house, then you do have to set that boundary. It ain't nothing about showing favoritism. Because I have a daughter that's 20, about to be 21, and she was my ride or die. I had her a month after I turned 18, and she was my ride or die. Everybody knows that connection that I had with her, but she's also my oldest one. And if she starts causing issues that's affecting my little ones, if she was to do that, then I would have to set boundaries. No, I'm not gonna all of a sudden mistreat my little kids just because I had to set boundaries with my older kids. It's like, okay, well, you know what? He shows favoritism because he takes Chase to the gym. So he should not do things with Chase because he had to set boundaries with Kyle, who stabbed him in the back so many times. Right, yes. Todd said Lindsay was ultimately, kicked off because she didn't want to share anything going on in her life, and she was demanding a lot, and it just wasn't worth flying her back and forth, paying for her travel, her hotel, if she didn't even want to share anything. So anyways, you guys, that is part one. I guess we'll try to do part 2 tomorrow. I'm gonna have to try to get on earlier though, because I don't want to we'll try to get on earlier tomorrow. But anyways, I will try to be back at least today with one more video because my YouTube views are so bad right now. I've literally made pennies this month. It's horrible. It's bad. So I'm definitely going to have to put more content on here. Your relationship with each kid is different, and it is based off how, if they are mistreating you, you don't just kick them to the curb, sure. But you also do have to consider the rest of your family. Anyways, you guys, thank y'all all so much for being here. If you guys don't mind, come back and hype the video up. That would mean so much to me. And I'll be back in a little bit with more. Maybe around 5:30 I'll go live. Probably going to talk about Amber Portwood. Amber Portwood claims that she protected her co-stars and she has information that could ruin their lives. So we'll probably talk about that. Thank you, BB. But we'll also go over part 2 tomorrow. So anyways, you guys, like, share, subscribe. Make sure you're subscribed. I'm also so close to 106,000. I've been sitting at 105,000 for a minute now. So hopefully I'll hit 106,000 before the end of the month. Come back and hype me up, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.